Hi, everybody. Welcome to class this week. It's been a little bit, maybe about 2 weeks since I put out the previous class, and so it's been a little bit of time. I apologize for the delay here. I'm in Vancouver. I'm just getting ready for a flight. Don't have too much time. I always say I want to have a short class today. We'll see what happens, but I do actually have to go to work soon. In between flights, I've got a busy schedule, and this past week I had to do all my yearly licensing exams to be a flight attendant. And I hate that time of year. It's like death and taxes, the sort of the two certainties in my life, and adding a third to these, doing all my annual recurrent training and exams and everything. And it's spring's my favorite time of year, and in Vancouver, it's one of my favorite places. That in Japan with all the spring blossoms. But at the same time, it's kind of like T.S. Eliot's famous quote, April's the cruelest month. End of March is the cruelest month, or the cruelest time for me, because I have to do all of this. So anyway, I haven't had a chance really to prepare anything because I had to do that. And then I went straight into flying, and I've got another stretch of flying here. I'll try and record another class when I'm away. I'm going to be in Japan a couple times in Thailand. So looking forward to those trips. So, in continuing on with our Tantra class, just a few classes left really on Lama Yeshe's book, and then we'll move on to Rob Priest's book before we go to the Naram Chenmo. Um, uh, yeah, so I'm going to skip a big part of the end of this book on Anuttara Yoga or Highest Yoga Tantra because we're just going to be looking at an introduction to Kriya Tantra, the lowest class of the four classes of Tantra. So we're going to be skipping a portion of Lama Yeshe's book just at the end here. You can read that on your own if you've got the Anuttara Yoga, Tantric Empowerment, and so forth. So let's get started here, which is reciting the Heart Sutra. Homage to Perfection Wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir and Mass Vultures mountain together a great assembly of monks and nuns and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also at the five aggregates, being empty of inherent existence. Then the Departed Buddha, Venerable Shariputra, said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection wisdom? As he spoke in Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, but looking perfectly and correctly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shall I put you like this? All phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They are producing, do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement, no decrease and no increase. Therefore, shall I put you in emptiness? There is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so forth up to no mentality element, also to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, he manifests complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the equal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayatam gata gata paragata parsam gati bodhisattva. Shariputra, bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose in that concentration, said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, bodhisattva, great being, that he had spoken well. Good, good, O son of the lineage, just like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed in that way, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and Tathagata will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, so let's just do a moment to do our prayers here, opening prayers. So we can just feel that we're seated in a wide open space, ground like lapis lazuli, soft and warm and easy to sit on. And we're in a beautiful dome of blue sky above us, clear blue sky, and we're surrounded by all sentient beings of all the six realms of existence. So we can feel our mothers on our left, father on our right, people we love the most, support behind us, and people we like the least or have issues with in front of us as objects of our compassion. Moving up from there, people from all over the world without exception, all the different beings in the natural environment, sort of the animal realm, from tiny little insects to big mammals and birds and fish and so forth. Countless beings from the spirit world are here as well, different kinds of spirits and entities from the different planes in that world, whether it be astral, ethereal, elemental, and so forth. Celestial beings, different gods and goddesses, and different beings like that, and demigods. And then countless beings in lower states of rebirth, angry ghosts and hell beings, all here together as one big family. Now above us and in front of us in the sky, we'll just visualize on a beautiful white square lion throne, multicolored lotus, and sun and moon. We can visualize conquer Vajradhara. The higher aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni, or the Buddha, and he has a beautiful sapphire blue body made out of energy or light, wearing a crown with beautiful jewels and ornaments and silks and so forth. And he is seated in Vajra position, and his arms crossed at the heart, holding a bell in his left hand, or dorji or Vajra scepter in his right. Beautiful blue hum letter at his heart on a moon disk. Softly radiating bubble out in all directions of the five elemental colors of white, red, yellow, blue, and green. And just feel that he is the synthesis of the three jewels and manifestation of all the Buddhas and all of our teachers as well. So taking refuge from our hearts here, I and all sentient beings and to achieve enlightenment go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. All sentient beings to achieve enlightenment go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. And through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections, may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So setting our intentions of taking refuge, in particular the Dharma jewel, wisdom realizing emptiness, and setting our intention being great compassion and love to reach enlightenment for the welfare of all beings. So generating the four immeasurables of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. 7-limb prayer to make our practice Buddhist. With my body, speech, and mind humbly I prostrate. I make offerings both said and unimagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. Now to open our hearts from great generosity, we're going to make a mandala offering. Just here from our heart, visualizing a purified universe, all beautiful things that we offer to all holy beings here. So the ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain, four lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offer thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. And we send forth this jewel mandala to you, precious Guru, Zomidam Guru Rana Mandala Kamyuti. Amen. Okay, let's recite the short Lam Rim prayer from Jason Kappa. Prayer the stages of the path to be able to generate the proper three principal paths, I should say, of renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness as the ground or foundation for a Tantra practice. Path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless you with this understanding to follow with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms, extremely rare with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body, like a water bubble, decays and dies so very quickly. And after death comes results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. As from knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, and keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind teachers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Also that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone without 3 ethics, so bless me in the strength to practice the bodhisattva's ordination. By pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings, bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common class, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle of Vajrayana. The 2 attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice and processions, the way explained by holy teachers, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me in the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy dharma, accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly, and gain the state of Vajradhara. Okay, so it says, from the hearts of all holy beings, streams of light nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying. So we can feel that from the heart of Conqueror Vajradhara, from the whom letter, you can visualize 5 colored lights, the green, blue, white, yellow, and red, like a rainbow coming into us, purifying, blessing, and empowering us. Or if that's so hard, you can just do it as a blue light, beautiful lapis blue light coming in to your body. So just feel that you're getting lighter, more open, more flexible, happier. There's a power in you now. And request from hearts, please, our Guru here, Buddha Vajradhara, grant us your blessings of body, speech, and mind. So with this, we visualize that he starts to shrink and get really small, just like a little piece of blue lapis or a blue diamond or a sapphire. And just like just sort of the morning star in the sky there, Venus, twinkling away. And now just like soft, sort of in slow motion, like a falling star, he comes to the crown of our head and dissolves inward, descending in front of our spine to our heart. Again, just like having some blue food color and just dropping one little drop into a big glass of pure, clear water, dissolves completely. And just feel that his mind, the mind of all the Buddhas in our mind, are one. We feel great, great spaciousness and bliss and joy. Just really feeling that spaciousness and peace, clarity, bliss and joy really mixing in with our mind, with our heart. And we can start our class here. So this is about the clear spaciousness of the mind. It's a really beautiful chapter Lama Yeshe goes in, and it's actually extremely profound, written from a very, very subtle, profound point of view. Yeah, I mean, we could just be a whole class on that. In a lot of ways, what he's doing, he's setting up the groundwork for a real understanding, experiential understanding of what they call Mahamudra, or sort of the ultimate, experiencing the ultimate nature of the mind. Sort of great seal, like sort of marked with the true stamp of authenticity of your true nature, your true Buddha nature, the emptiness of your mind. So in the Gelugpa tradition, the Mahamudra teachings, in particular the very famous ones, come from first Panchen Lama, probably always hard to say, but after Gesang Kappa, possibly one of the most important Gelugpa Lamas in the last, since Gesang Kappa died in the early 1400s. He's in the 1600s, and first Panchen Lama wrote a small text, such sort of like the definitive text always used on Mahamudra meditation. And he draws a good distinction between what kind of Mahamudra you want to study and practice, the Sutric Mahamudra, which we've talked about before, or Tantric Mahamudra. He says in that text, I'm only going to focus on Sutra Mahamudra. Once you go to Tantric Mahamudra, it's same but different. Basically it's the end result. How do you realize the emptiness of your own mind and then be liberated from samsara? But of course, the technology or the outlook, so to speak, how you're doing it's a little bit different. So that's kind of in here. And I hadn't read this book in a long time. So when I went back and read it, I was like, wow, this is like such a great chapter. So he titles this, he says it's about, quote unquote, making space by not seeing. So he says, Lamas say, quote, not seeing is perfect seeing. So it's kind of almost like a Zen koan or funny expression there. Not seeing is perfect seeing. And that is the advanced meditator's experience of space as universal reality, or the experience beyond dualism. Okay? In ordinary experience, we are overwhelmed by countless dualistic perceptions and conceptions, attracted to pleasurable objects and repulsed by unpleasant ones, and we have a very narrow idea of ourselves in the world. Seeing things dualistically, believing in this, leads to not just to confusion, but to the whole cycle of dissatisfaction and suffering that makes up samsara. So we are to train in penetrative awareness and cultivate direct perception of the actual way things exist, as become more and more deeply absorbed in the experience of spaciousness. Ordinary concrete appearances normally crowding our vision dissolve, like clouds dissolving into the blue sky. The mind feels calm and balanced and free of limitation. We're no longer occupied with seeing and believing in ordinary appearances, and we enter into the perfect seeing of a non-dual experience. So that's interesting. Of course, we've seen time and time again, like Lama Yeshe sees, that's because we think things are dualistically separate, not a product of the mind, not related to us either causally or logically, in the sense of like the three levels of dependent arising we always talk about in Buddhist Sutra teachings, is that things are interdependent or dependent arises because everything is connected, interconnected through cause and effect or karma. We go a little bit deeper. We say that things are always, you can see them as interrelated or dependent arising in terms of wholes and parts. I always like to call that logic. I mean, my goodness, you could even talk about set theory here or whatever if you really want a modern symbolic logic. But the point is, what that teaches you is that things exist in relationships. So things are happening, like Aristotle would say everything in physics is just, the whole thing is that there's always change. Things are moving, things are in activity. How do we understand this change? Aristotle says you have to understand it causally. That's the best explanation or way of understanding. Same thing in Buddhism, except we're not just like Aristotle, just looking at things in the world, we're looking at also our mind. the causal, in other words, how does experience work? How are we as experiencers? Well, in terms of causes, and that's what karma is, or action. We talked about that before. So if we go a little bit deeper than that, we also see that things are always already in relationships, right? So logic is just about sort of a science of relationships when you think about it, seeing implications and so forth, and how one thing leads to another. And so, but it taught the idea of wholes and parts, that wholes make sense in terms of their constituents or elements make sense in terms of how they fit into a larger whole. So that's in terms of structures, good old-fashioned 1960s structuralism, in the sense that elements are defined in terms of their relationship to one another in a whole. That makes up the whole, sometimes even the whole greater than the sum of the parts. That whole is defined in terms of other wholes. We can talk about the elements being related to one another, blah, blah, blah. And then the deepest level of interdependence or dependent origination is that things come into being by the way we label them conceptually. In other words, how we think and talk about things. The grammar of the language we speak, our whole conceptual map, things can't exist outside a relationship to that. That's always present, right? And that's why, like you always say, like in phenomenology, that mind is quote unquote intentional. It always has an object, always related to something. And then if you look at how's that done, well, like you look, I don't want to get too much of Western philosophy, but you look at Being and Time, Heidegger's masterwork in the 1920s, how do we really understand intentionality? Well, it's just through the language that we speak. Language is how we get the first understanding of time, how we are able to create projects, do things with words, interrelate in a community, have a history, make things happen, have our self projects. So anyway, we can't think of things independent of that, like things would be absolutely unrelated to that. Like even if you want to do science, science is nothing without its theories, without its observation, without its quantification on mathematical data and statistics, without the mind, without concepts, right? So but the point is that we can't see that we're actually doing that. The moment we start thinking that way into those levels of dependent origination, we're overcoming dualism already, because we're saying that the world isn't separate from us, but actually coming from us or interrelated to us. That world and self go together, right? Mind and world go together. It's sort of like the same thing. But usually we have all these sort of dualistic minds and concepts and everything that we're almost like disassociated with. So I like this set, how he says, gets the quote, not seeing is perfect seeing, right? So in other words, what are we not, what does it mean? The perfect seeing of not seeing is not getting hung up in the content, thinking the content of your mind is somehow separate from you or has nothing to do with you. And so it's just filled in your head happening to you, that you're this passive victim from an external world that has nothing to do with you, almost like sending all this stuff into you. This is what gets you confused and ignorant. And then because of that, sort of the self-grasping of that dualistic mind creates the self-cherishing, the dualistic view of you versus the world, or the world versus you. Hence you suffer. Dissatisfaction, of course, and that addictive cycle of desire we were talking about is, of course, founded on that misapprehension. Okay, so this seeing, not seeing, or seeing, or whatever, is a sleep-like blank mindlessness. Our mind is awake and alert, rejecting nothing, asserting nothing, yet accepting everything. We're not trapped and limited, playing some drama over and over again. So drama of our mind, all the stories that we turn, all the things we take so seriously, right, that cause us to suffer. Now we begin to taste the truth of liberation, of an unencumbered consciousness. This liberation is possible because of the superficial, conventional, fantasy, dualistic mind is not the fundamental nature of human beings. Our fundamental nature is clean, clear as crystal. No place for self-pitying imagination. All limiting, imprisoning conditions dissolve. We can enter and remain within this naturally clear state of our own mind. We'll have the time and space to see things without confusion and handle at the very least our life more skillfully. Mahamudra is contemplating the mind in meditation. It can be led naturally to spacious experience of non-duality. We see thoughts arise, abide, disappear themselves. There's no need to dispel thoughts. thoughts arise from the clear nature of our mind and naturally dissolve back into clear nature of the mind. And when thoughts dissolve in this way, we should keep our mind concentrated on the resulting clarity without distraction. We train ourselves not to become engrossed in any thought, any of the thoughts that are continuously arising in our mind. We want to see our thoughts or experiences of like waves on the ocean, coming and going, arising and dissolving. We remain mindful of the underlying clarity from whence our thoughts arise. Why is it important to concentrate on clarity? Because it's the source of happiness and suffering. Because the source of happiness and suffering arises in the mind. And within our mind, it is our habitual wrong view or ignorant, insecure ego grasping that holds onto the hallucination of concrete self-existence as if it were real. The way to break this spell is to see the illusory nature of things and recognize all phenomena are nothing but fleeting appearances arising in the clear space of mind. The more we contemplate the clarity of our own mind, the less we hold on to any appearance as being concrete and real, and the less we suffer. When you contemplate your own consciousness with intense awareness, leaving aside all thoughts of good and bad, you're automatically led to experience of non-duality. So here we go. So what are we doing here? Well, in a lot of ways, Lama Yeshe is seeing that what's good for our tantric practice is to have a working knowledge of and working practice of Sutra Mahamudra, not Tantra Mahamudra, in the sense that what we're going to use is our regular conventional mind to start to meditate on itself, right? We want to, like I said before, the 3 levels of dependent arising, giving us an understanding of the intentional nature of the mind, or mind as intentionality. Let's go a little bit deeper than that, in the sense that we can't treat this intentionality as if it's truly real, independent of anything else, outside of any kind of relationship, as I said, inherently existent, right? So it's kind of interesting. William James, one of my favorite philosophers, was the first one to really start phenomenology in a lot of ways. And he did 2 great essays that are just the foundation. People like Husserl and Heidegger really, really worked on them. And it's this idea of a pragmatist understanding of consciousness. So it's called The Notion of Consciousness, one essay, and then the other one is Does Consciousness Exist? And it's brilliant. Because William James, who was such an amazing person, he always said, what can we say about consciousness? All we can say is that it's an intentionality, or it's directed towards the world or objects. And the objects are always of bigger logical relationships. In other words, my consciousness of the back of my phone, the ofness is that this perspective is of a greater whole, which is the other perspectives of the phone that make up the phone as a whole complete object. So consciousness is always already transcending itself in the world, out in the world, connected to everything. But in and of itself, it's nothing. It's a nothingness, like Sartre would call it, right? It's just, so from a Buddhist point of view, we can say that it is just clear and cognizing. It's a clarity. It's not a thing. It's not like it's a thinking thing, like Descartes would say. I think, therefore I am. It's some kind of thinking substance, this perceiver, this awareness that then jumps into the world, that runs around and looks at things. There's no consciousness without an object, right? There isn't, that's the big thing of Buddhist low reg, that it's always intention, but what is it? It's just the experiencing of that object. It's just the experiencing of experience. There isn't anything else to it. It's just, again, clear in the sense it doesn't have any quality. It's a sheer openness. And they often say luminous, right? Or that it's just knowing, it's just experiencing. So Urgyen Tokyo Rinpoche, one of the great Kagyu Nyingma Lamas of the 20th century, is just so wonderful. He had an essay, I can't remember what it was called, but he said, he's talking about the definition of conscious being clear and cognizing. And he says, isn't it amazing that something that has no quality can experience? In other words, isn't it amazing that because something's clear or a no-thingness, that it's nothing in particular that it can experience, right? But Aristotle would say it's precisely because it has no quality that it can be everything or anything. That's the take on, of course, Urgyen Rinpoche says the same. It's not like he asks that rhetorical question, doesn't know the answer because he's a completely enlightened being, right? But So we have to look at things this way. So for Mahamudra, when we're doing Mahamudra, we're going to take the mind itself as the intentional object of the mind. We're just going to watch our experience as experience. Experience the experience of experiencing, so to speak. And what do we say? See, when we look at that, there's all sorts of experiences, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, mental events, whatever you want to call them, words, blah, 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 daydreams, fantasies, imaginary objects, so forth, that just arise out of this luminosity and then go for a while and then dissolve again, right? That's what we see. Now, in normal everyday life, when we're in the midst of our everydayness or self projects, we never see our mind being this way. We take it for being real, not just being dreamlike. We're just a product of sort of like an imaginary world. We take it to be absolutely real and separate from ourselves. We actually split mind and its object. When we take them together, you see that neither one of them has self-existence, right? So when we do Mahamudra, we are looking for objects or experiences. What happens? They come and they go. They're not really there. Even when I try and find them, you look at Tashi Namgyal Rinpoche, one of the great Kagyu Lamas. He always said, when a thought's coming, try and grab it. Where is it? Like when you have a thought, like, I'm mad at my boss, like whatever, I guess you might go, I'm mad at my boss, or but whatever. Let's just say, I can't wait for my vacation at the end of the week. Can't wait for the Cancun vacation. Me on the beach. Me on the beach thought, okay, stop. Where's me on the beach? When I'm actually looking for it, like I can see it in my mind, when I start investigating, where is it? And then a moment later, I'm like, wow, I'd like a hamburger or something. It's gone. Where did it go? Where did it come from? Right? What's important is that on a day-to-day basis, we never think that way. All of our thoughts, like just think of all the negative stories or soap operas that turn in your head like a drive. All your childhood trauma, all the angry stuff you think about. I can't believe they did that to me. I can't believe that person said that to me. I can't believe these people in the world, these leaders, these idiots, whatever, are doing this. I can't believe this is happening. It's so not fair. I'm so angry. You can't do that to me. You can't say that to me. All these things, where are they? But you see when we take them for being real, how much we suffer. So Dipa Ma, that great Theravada Lama, she always said the mind is nothing but stories, right? That's all it is. It's just like Derrida would say, just writing, right? Just the stories. Who's writing them? Who's reading them? Who's remembering them? That's a good question. But it's just stories. But they just turn. And I notice this is as you get older, like me, old man like me, you see the old people, it's always, oh, Matthew, old man Matthew. He's always telling the same stories over and over again. His college story, his can you believe I did this as a flight attendant story, blah, blah, blah. He's got like 5 stories and they're on a loop, right? Oh, I don't want to go visit him. But what does that say about the mind? The mind's just stories. But the point is we think they're not just stories. We think they're true in and of themselves. So what's Lama Yeshe saying is that on a sutric Mahamudra level, if we're able to do this, it creates space, the space of non-duality. Then, like First Panchen Lama says, once we have that relationship with our thoughts, our experiential content, and see that it's contentless content, so to speak, you start to get this spaciousness and you can experience the conventional nature of the mind, not its empty quality, the ultimate nature, but on a conventional level, we can see what the mind is. In other words, we can have an experience of it being clear and cognizing, non-material or nothing, a sheer openness, and a luminosity in the sense that like light, like Aristotle says, the passive quality of the intellect is just like clear wax, can be anything. It's just a sheer openness. Active quality is just like light, where it illuminates to know. It allows, in first part of Being in Time, Heidegger says, what is a phenomenon? From the Greek, phenomenon means to step into the light. Out of indeterminacy of experience, something becomes determinate. Out of the dark, something shows itself to me. That's what a phenomena is. That's able to happen is because the luminous quality of the mind. Okay, so once we contemplate your own consciousness with intense awareness, leaving aside all thoughts of good and bad or all your thoughts, not attach to them, see them come and go, you're automatically led to an experience of duality because you're led into this space of clarity and cognition, the conventional nature of the mind, which they say is like space or like the blue sky. You can use all these Mahamudra or Dzogchen metaphors that we always use when we're doing this meditation. You see the mind's like the ocean, all the thoughts are like the water, like the waves. I used to, in Northern Ontario, as a little boy, jump into the lake outside of Kenora, and I'd sink to the bottom, and I'd look up at the sky through the lake, and you see, like sometimes I do it like an idiot in the middle of a storm. Maybe lightning hit the water and electrocute me. I don't know, but you'd see all the stuff, but you're at the bottom, holding your breath with my little scuba mask on or whatever, and it's so quiet, it's so peaceful, and it's calm, and there's like no waves, and you look up and you see this crazy world like a dream coming and going spectrally like a ghost, right? But deep down you just see, oh, this is beautiful, I'm just so relaxed. And I have to jump up, and I come up, start breathing, and it's like raining and thunder in the sky and stuff like that. So with Mahamudra, let me get to that place of non-duality where I see that mind and the world are one intentionally. But in order for that to be the case, my mind has to be a sheer openness or just a sheer awareness for that to work, right? And that we're going to get when you get to higher levels of Mahamudra Dzogchen, they say that, pure awareness is pure. It's not stained or anything else. It's not good. It's not bad. It's absolutely pure, kind of beyond good and evil, beyond suffering. And its ultimate nature is empty, right? And its emptiness is one with it. And I'm letting the cat out of the bag. But anyway, but that has to be an experience. We can always say that intellectually right now, as what they call an inferential valid cognizer, sort of an inferential conceptual mind, that's correct. But we have to have the full experience of this. But that our tantric practice is able to work, and we're able to look at things in terms of creations of the imagination, we need that clarity, we need that space, we need that sheer openness to be able to start that work, right? That's why it's good to have an understanding and practice of Sutra Mahamudra to start that we're able to do later Tantric Mahamudra, because if we're able to do Anuttara Hyas Yoga Tantra, we're using the most subtle mind, which is non-conceptual, just pure sheer awareness to meditate on emptiness. And that's what allows us to get enlightened very, very quickly. Because right now, as you look at your mind, what is it? Full of stories and garbage. It's like this. And especially now with all of our addictive behavior with our phone, there's no space. We're always thinking and texting and swiping and watching movies. We're always, like Pascal saying, distracting or diverting ourselves. We have no space in our lives. How can we create anything if there's no space to create, to build, to put anywhere? Heidegger says, like, you look at what the Greeks talked about art. Art's two things, poiesis, techne. In other words, a bringing forth, a disclosure, we're creating something, and techne is a craft. So Tantra is that, a bringing forth of a world from this mind of sheer awareness. And it's done as an art, literally an art, a craft. But how can we do that if our studio's full of garbage? Deleuze says, one of my favorite philosophers, there's a great quote on totalitarianism, and he said, totalitarianism isn't shutting people up, it's getting people to talk incessantly, always being talked at, always being ordered, always being told what to do, and everyone's all arguing in politics. So you have no space, no silence to create something different, to imagine an alternative. There's no imagination, there's no possibility, there's no alternative, there's no art. Art shows you alternatives, so you're stuck, you're controlled, you're put in a box, right? We need space. There's no space in our lives. If there's no space, there's no luminosity, there's no openness, we can't create. Tantra is creation. We're already creating the world. We just don't know we're doing it. But we're creating a garbage world. Let's have the space and the silence to create something different. Rather than samsara, we're going to create enlightenment, right? And we'll just, once we see that, once we start doing the cat's out of the bag, you'll see that it's always already been that way. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's, we have to move through the fairy tale to get to the end of that, the moral of the story, of the allegory. But there's a great quote, my last one, which is by Thich Nhat Hanh, Ajahn Chah, one of the great Thai masters, and an arhat, or enlightened being from Thailand. And my first teacher was one of Ajahn Chah's students. And if you could get, I've got a little book of just his sayings. They're just unbelievable. He was just like such a Buddha. But he had a great thing talking to his first Westerns or white students that would come study with him in Thailand. And he said, this is his opinion, of course, but anyway, he said, you Westerners with your education and wealth and, you're all gone to university. He's like, you have huge mansions, whereas some of my Thai students maybe never left their village, didn't travel much, didn't go to university, whatever, blah, 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 didn't get their business degree. They're in a smaller house, little house. Nope, houses are still great, whether it's good or big, right? But he's like, their houses are amazing and simple and humble and clean and wonderful. But your big mansions, North American or Western Dharma people, are full of garbage, like hoarder house. So he's like, before you can get any kind of realization of emptiness or any higher spiritual realization, you have to clean out the hoarder house. The hoarder house, you have to clean out all the garbage. That's the work. And he's like, once the hoarder house is all clean, he's like, you will have so much space in your mind, in your life, that alone will change everything. Your huge mansion, Beverly Hills mansions, full of garbage. After you get all your family, all your friends, they come, they get all the big dumpsters, they throw everything out, clean it, power wash everything out, paint everything white, and then you go in and the house is empty and you sit right in the middle of it and it's quiet and spacious and you have that space and it's like, wow, non-duality. So that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. So ending on that, may we have the wish and aspiration to do more Mahamudra practice in our day-to-day lives, whether we're on the streetcar or waiting in line up somewhere or before bed or when we're in the shower, wherever it is, bring this into our day-to-day lives. So blessings of all of our teachers and all holy beings, the truth of karma, the power of pure spirit intention, and all of our dharma wishes be fulfilled. May all sentient beings reach full awakening. Okay, see you next time.